Hello and welcome back to the True Crime Guys podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Michael.
How's everybody doing? Hope you had a fabulous Thanksgiving. We took the week off. We rarely do that.
I know, right?
It was a nice little break, and now I'm excited to be back recording again. That's how it works.
It was. It's always bittersweet, right? It's a nice break, but then I'm like, oh, we have nothing. We didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I feel so worthless. Right. Sitting around, eating turkey and ham. And although I'm not complaining. Not complaining at all.
Yeah.
I just finished up my last sweet potato pie. It's delicious.
Still working those leftovers?
Oh, yeah. We're milking them. You know, making turkey sandwiches, shit like that.
Yeah.
Yep. But it was
Good
fun,
times.
though.
Yeah.
That's right, man. Got to cherish these times.
Yeah, well, we're on to Christmas now, and we're on to our next episode. And this week, we are going back a ways. It's an older case, and it's got some things that remind you of other cases.
For sure.
But it's certainly its own entity. I mean, this case is wild. This dude figured some shit out back in the day with Lonely Heart ads, which was like the original, I guess, Tinder or Craigslist.
Right. I mean, it's just like, it's no different than, I guess, dating ads and classifieds, right? And I feel like most small towns had these. They just didn't have a clever name like Lonely Hearts.
Yeah.
You know?
Zero checks and balances, though. Like, you could just write anything in the newspaper and people just took it at face value.
Right. I mean, well, you're paying for it, so the newspaper doesn't care.
I'm a millionaire that looks like Zac Efron. I happen to be single. I've got sprawling estates.
Right.
And I'm looking for a good woman.
Right. The only reason I'm single is just because I'm too busy to socialize.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Too good to be true.
And so you're going to have access to all of my stuff. While I'm out grinding, you're going to get all of my things. Right. Every now and then we'll go to a beautiful dinner.
Yes, that's right. That's all I expect. I expect fidelity. That's all. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's too good to be true, it usually is.
Right.
This
case, we have a shout out for the person who suggested this, who happens to be a West Virginia person. And so I want to say sorry for crapping on West Virginia in our last episode. I kind of shit all over it and said that the wonderful whites of West Virginia was the only thing that I know about West Virginia. So
yeah, that's not a good clue as to West Virginia.
To make up for it, I chose your case, and it's a West Virginia case, and it looks like a beautiful state.
It is a beautiful state.
Aside from all the trailers, it looks beautiful.
And to be fair, the douchebag that we're covering today is not a West Virginia native. Let's make that clear as well.
Yeah.
He's not.
He just went there to kill people. That's all.
That's right. He's not even an American.
Right.
Well, I mean, I guess he became an American, but
he just decided West Virginia seems like a cool place to kill some people, I guess.
Right.
Which there's a lot of woods, a lot of sprawling area. So
yes,
not the worst place.
No, absolutely not. You got mountainous regions. You got a lot of rural, like you said, a lot of rural area. Plenty of places to hide bodies, that's for sure. And I think we're catching this guy at the end of his career. That's just my opinion, because there is so much about this guy's early life that we don't know. Like, we basically pick up with him in his 30s, and I just don't think you start with this type of escalation and this type of organization. I mean, do you really think so? I think he had victims before this.
That's very possible. He also may have fought in World War I. I mean, it's like you said. It's hard to find info on this guy's background. He was an immigrant, and he changed his alias. He changed his name and everything constantly, intentionally, because he knew he was doing some dirty shit.
Oh, yeah.
Those guys are always kind of hard to get a true timeline on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no doubt.
But we did our best, and let's dive into this thing. It's a fun one.
Let's do it.
If it seems too good to be true, if the sky's always the perfect shade of blue, you think you solved it, well, you ain't got a clue. All you need to get a clue, 'cause he'll tell you whatever you want to hear. He told another one the same thing last year. I know you think that there's nothing to fear. I'm telling you, darling, steer clear. Your lonely heart, strung out on the line. I know his words may read mighty fine. I promise you, he ain't the loving kind, darling, 'cause he ain't even kind. He's got the money, don't worry about a thing. Wants to settle down, ain't looking for a fling. But when he shows, honey, he won't have a ring. Nah, there won't be no wedding ring. There'll just be your lonely heart, strung out on the line. I know his words may loving kind, darling, 'cause he ain't even kind. I know it's hard going it alone, and you think a man will make your house a home, but this one will burn it down with his heart of stone, then he'll bury your bones. Your lonely heart strung out on the line, I know his words may read mighty fine. I promise you he ain't the loving kind, darling, 'cause he ain't even kind. Your lonely heart strung out on the line, I know his words may read mighty fine. I promise you he ain't the loving kind, darling, 'cause he ain't even kind. Nah, 'cause he ain't even kind. 'Cause he ain't even kind. Tell you, he ain't even kind.
All right, as we alluded to, this week's killer used Lonely Heart ads to lure in his victims. And if you're not 80 and you want a little background on what a Lonely Heart ad is,
Right.
this is the definition of it, quote, a form of classified advertising in which a person seeks to find another person for friendship, romance, marriage, or sexual activity. It was basically
Usually
like
the latter.
Tinder. It was like Tinder for the olden days. You would
That's
put
right.
an ad in the news. You'd pay to have an ad put in the newspaper advertising yourself, like, "Hey, I'm looking for someone." And then
I mean,
you would leave your your PO box or your address, and people would begin sending you letters back and forth.
Right. And other than, word of mouth, how else did you get the word out? I mean, the newspaper was really it, as far as locals. I mean, I guess
especially if you lived like in rural farmland, like how are you going to meet people? You're just like tending to your farm every day.
Yeah. Farmers only. That's how.
Yeah, now, sure. FarmersOnly.com.
Right.
We really should try and get a sponsor for Farmers Only. I'm sure there's some farmers out there listening to the podcast that need a
There's gotta
companion.
Be. That's right, guys. If you're listening, you're a representative for Farmers Only. Let us know.
Right.
We'll help you out.
I'm sure the whole staff listens every week.
That's right, no doubt.
So our subject this week is a guy who had many aliases. He was born Herman Drenth and would ultimately change his name to his more popular or well-known name, Harry F. Powers. He was born on November 17th, 1893, and shares a birthday with Danny DeVito, Rock Hudson, and Lorne Michaels.
Oh wow, our namesakes in one name.
Same spelling of my name as well, Lorne Michaels. There was a couple famous Lornes back in the Dizzy that I guess ultimately spawned my name. Lorne Green
probably.
And Lorne Michaels, who's hugely successful. Lorne Michaels, I think, was responsible for things like Seinfeld.
And also SNL,
shows.
right?
SNL, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But going back to his name, born Herman Drenth, that name just sounds dark, right? And also, I think, he was born in the Netherlands, right? And I think his name for short, they called him Harm. I think they pronounced it different. So moving to the U.S. as a violent young child, aggressive young child, and then your name is Harm, I think his parents were kind of like ahead of the game with that, right? They were like, Harm Drenth? Like, no, you can't be named Harm, son. Like, we're gonna have to swap that up.
Right.
You're already a little shit. So,
yeah,
I see why they went with Harry.
Yeah. You mentioned he was born in the Netherlands, and he was actually born in a tiny village called Beerta. And his family was poor, and young Herman worked on local farms and with his mother at her grocery store to help them survive. And if they were this poor, I'm trying to imagine owning a grocery store and being that poor, but maybe it was more of like a fruit stand or who knows what type in a tiny village.
I was about to say it was. Yeah, probably a small shop where you just sold your stuff from your farm.
Like a farmer's market type of deal.
Whether it be meat, eggs, vegetables, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And
young Harm was known as an aggressive and troublesome boy.
Young Harm. Like I say, man, it just makes sense. I think his mother was ahead of the curve there. She was like, ooh, I looked up that in the English dictionary. No, we can't. Can't send you to school being named Harm.
Yeah. And Herman would become Harry when he immigrated to the United States in 1910 at 10 years old. And so Hiram Drenth to the United States, first settling in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And he then would metamorphose himself into an Oklahoma oil stock promoter named Harry Powers with an alias of A.R. Weaver or Cornelius O. Pearson. So he had a bunch of different names.
But Cornelius was the one he used the most, I believe, which is odd because it's way off of his name.
But it sounds like a wealthy businessman, though. Cornelius Pearson.
No doubt. And
that was the one he would use when he was trying to fool people. I think he went by Harry Powers when he was like actually trying to be himself to an extent.
Yeah.
But then when he was like responding to ads and things like that he would put up and trying to rip someone off, he would go with Cornelius.
That makes sense. That does sound more sophisticated.
Yeah.
It really does. And I'm guessing being only 10 years old, moving to the U.S., I'm guessing he was able to adapt the accent rather quickly.
Yeah.
Because in order to fool people in places like Oklahoma and West Virginia, he must have been able to pull off some type of Southern drawl or charm. You know what I mean?
Right.
Although most of his interactions were in the newspaper at first, so...
Exactly. It was pen pals for a while, and then within a day of meeting them, he would have killed and stolen all their shit. A little bit of Bloody Benders-esque in this case. But also had the kill shed. He had a custom-made garage at some point in this case, which reminds you a bit of a couple other guys in our and that we've done cases on. There's been those guys,
Jerry Brudos. Had the garage that his wife wasn't allowed
Israel
in.
Keys, I believe, had a similar thing going on where the wife is like 10 feet away at the house and you're in the shed just chopping up bodies.
But weirdly, those dudes seemed like they did love that one woman, huh? Much like Mr. Harry here.
Yeah.
There was like one woman that was off limits, but, constantly looking for a victim, though. Yeah. What a double life.
Yep. Yeah, so he, from a young age, was not content to live as a poor immigrant farmer.
Imagine that.
He was willing to fake it till he made it, lie, do whatever it took to get some notoriety and some money. He wanted bigger and better things and was willing to do whatever was necessary to obtain them. Although he was far from handsome, the young man had a winning way with words.
Yeah,
he's more of an average-looking fellow, and
Yeah, and if you're watching on YouTube, there's a picture of him on the screen right now. So you can be the judge. He looks like a pretty big fella, though.
Yeah, he does. Looks like a big corn-fed fellow.
Yeah, he definitely looks like a farm boy. That's for sure. He's
a farm boy that's trying to be a businessman.
That's right.
Put lipstick on a pig there a little bit.
Yeah. Those circle rim glasses really aren't helping either.
Right.
But it makes him look more educated.
Yeah, clearly the glasses were too small for his head too. When you see the arms go back,
those poor frames.
They're screaming for help. They're about to snap. Yeah.
Oh jeez. Right.
Yeah, but because of all of his aliases and moving around, police would later have a difficult time piecing together the past life of Henry Drenth, as he changed aliases as often as he changed addresses. As a young man, he would leave his family in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, to serve 20 months overseas during the World War. And by the end of the war, the immigrant Harry Drenth had changed himself into an Oklahoma oil stock promoter named Harry Powers, as we mentioned, or he would also go by A.R. Weaver, Cornelius Pearson. But back in the States, he would travel around working as a petty thief until 1921, at the age of 21, when he would fall in love with a young woman named Rose Strickland. Rose, however, was a taken woman. She was already married, and they had their little fling, but she decided it was a bad idea and decided to end their relationship. He did not take this well.
I bet not.
He responded by setting her house on fire.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he had to known she was married. But I mean, like most of these killers, they're narcissists, so they believe that, there's no one better than me. So what the hell are you thinking? Mm-hmm. And then to face that type of rejection that early on, that didn't help his self-esteem any, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah, for this he was arrested and sent to prison, and he would also be incarcerated again for burglary under his birth name in Barron County, Wisconsin in 1921 through 1922. So building up a rap sheet. After getting out, he would then move to West Virginia in 1926, where he would really get to business. Yeah.
I mean, in the 1920s, moving from Wisconsin to West Virginia, that's basically a clean slate there. Nobody's going to give a shit.
Exactly.
That's not following you. You know what I'm saying?
No.
And
you just change your name again, and you got a whole new life.
And also, he learned a valuable lesson here: not to use your legal birth name
To commit a crime.
when getting arrested. Yeah, when committing a crime. Yeah. So his actual name was in Barron County at this time.
Truly.
But of course, there wasn't a lot of cooperation among states that far away, especially.
It's just baffling to think about. As long as you didn't have any formal identification on yourself, you'd literally, what are they going to do? Just be like,
what are they going to do?
John Dick. That's my name.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm from wherever. I just make up a fucking city they've never heard of. And they'll be like, well, sir, it looks like this is your first crime.
Right, exactly. I mean, a decent looking guy, got some glasses, well spoken, whatever.
Yeah, I think they would just try to get rid of you, just try and push you to another town. We've seen that before too, where law enforcement's just like, we got to make this guy's life so full of hell that he's just going to leave and go to be someone else's problem.
Exactly.
So in 1927, Powers would start posting in the Lonely Hearts magazine from a young lady. He would respond to an ad in a Lonely Hearts magazine from a young lady named Luella Strother. Ms. Strother owned a small grocery store in Clarksburg, West Virginia, and lived in a farm in nearby Quietdale.
So this is something he knows too. It's like at this part, it's not even hard to pull this con off because, right? I mean, this is his wife, isn't it?
This would go on to, they would get married, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this was probably very nostalgic for him. Miss Strother already owned a grocery store, which he grew up working
like his mother, right?
Right, and then she has a farm that supplies their grocery store. He's like, yeah, I know this. This feels great.
That's maybe why he never killed her. It'd be like killing his mother.
Ooh, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So she posts in this Lonely Hearts magazine looking for a young man. She's lonely. Mm-hmm. She owns this grocery store and a farm. And although she was financially comfortable, she was seeking companionship and romance. And she found that romance in the form of 34-year-old Harry Powers from Iowa. And the two struck up a passionate correspondence that blossomed into marriage in 1927. And you have to wonder, they probably got married upon their first actual meeting. They had this back and forth through letters, and then they meet and straight to the courthouse.
Probably. Yeah. Probably. And also, they're both in their mid 30s, and in the 1920s, that's pretty late.
That's like
people
80.
Are getting married. Right? People are getting married at like 15 on average. So It's like you're way behind the game. So you're much more likely to settle down.
Right.
And then, like I said, he found someone who's into the same things that he knows and has grown up doing. Seemed like a good fit. Probably for her too.
Mm-hmm. So following their marriage, the newlyweds settled down together to run the Quincy Street Grocery. And Powers would begin constructing a garage and basement at the home in Quietdale, where she lived. And Quietdale is an unincorporated community in Harrison County, West Virginia. On their Wikipedia, this is how small this place is. On their Wikipedia page, the notable history section, it's one of those towns where it's like if you had a serial killer, that's their history.
Damn.
On their Wikipedia page for Quietdale, it says, under history, it says, in 1931, Quietdale was the scene of multiple murders committed by serial killer Harry Powers.
That's the first thing?
Yeah.
Damn it.
The first thing in their history. That's how small this town is.
It's kind of like, what is it, Woodfield, Wisconsin? Ain't that where Ed Gein was from?
No, it was, shit.
It was, but it's the same thing, though. When you look up that small town,
it was like Quiet something. It was like Quietdale type of name. It was, peaceful. It had some shit like that in it. The opposite of what Ed Gein was up to. Yeah.
Right.
I think it was it was Plainfield or something like that. Like
Plainfield. There you go.
It was Plainfield.
Yeah.
Anyways, people are screaming at the radio right now.
I know, right? For real.
Yes,
some true crime guys you are.
Right. We've done a lot of episodes, guys.
Yeah, give us a break.
I hate it when someone comes up to me and they start talking about a case we did 5 years ago. I'm like, dude, you know more than me. If you just listen to that, it's gone. It's out of there. It's out of the brain. It's
right. You are my current source. I can't hold all that.
Right. Whatever you say I said, that's probably true.
That sounds like it.
Yeah. But a little bit more on Quietdale. The area is primarily single-family residential in nature on large lots. Its key retail businesses in Quietdale include a 7-Eleven, an Exxon gas station, a Dollar General, and a Stonewood Bulk Foods. Also, the Adventure Grill, frozen treats and tasty treats, or tasty eats.
That's current day, right?
Current day, yeah. Obviously, that wasn't around back then.
Right. I didn't think Dollar General was.
Yeah, I don't know if they had any of this back in this day.
Dude, Dollar General would be so damn expensive. That'd be like fucking, I don't know, like Macy's or something back then, like Whole Foods for them. You're like,
Right.
what the hell? No, I'm not shopping there. $1. God.
Fucking Dollar General. Yeah, you're right. Dollar was a lot back then, right? Be
That'd be called Cents General.
Penny General.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. So the garage would later become infamous, an infamous part of Quietdale. It was later discovered to be the scene of the murders, which made the most notable part of this town's history. And so Harry would begin to write his own, what do they call them? Lonely Heart.
The Lonely Hearts advertisement.
Yeah, he would start to write those. And many women would write in response to his advertisements. Quote, postal records later indicated that replies to Power's advertisements poured in at a rate of 10 to 20 letters per day.
Yeah, and that's because, well, for one, he didn't include a picture. And two, what he wrote is like, no wonder. Like we said earlier, it's too good to be true, which we do have an ad, which we'll get to here very shortly.
Yeah, I'm about to read one. But it seems as though he learned from Luella. Like he saw this Lonely Heart ad. That's how they got married. And he saw like, this is an opportunity.
Right
here.
Maybe he planned to take advantage of Luella, but fell in love with her.
Or just maybe not so much fell in love, but it was just convenient. She probably didn't let him be what he was. Yeah. She was busy running the farm and the grocery store, and he could just mooch off of her and go off and do whatever. Yeah, it was a good cover. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so he soon recognized the fact that matrimony had proven to be the most financially rewarding of his different schemes. Moving around, changing names, flat out robbing things. It was easier to just take over someone's wealth, just assume their wealth.
Mm-hmm.
He had done that with Luella, and it was working out great. So now he could start scamming other, people that were lonely looking for a man, and he didn't even have to stick around. He just kill them and take their shit.
Right.
And so although he claimed to have an undying love for Luella until his death, there's no doubt that he learned how to benefit from, becoming a spouse of someone else and taking over their wealth. He posted the following advertisement, none of which was true, in the American Friendly Society circular 5 years after his marriage to Luella. Quote, wealthy widower worth $150,000 with income from $400 to $300 per month. Civil engineer and very fine-looking man of 38 rights. Quote, my business enterprises prevent me from making many social friends. I am therefore unable to make the acquaintance of the right kind of women. As my properties are located throughout the Midwest, I believe I will settle there when married. Am an elk and a mason. Own a beautiful 10-room house, completely furnished. My wife would have her own car and plenty of spending money, but she must be strictly a one-man woman. I would not tolerate any infidelity. I am now living in West Virginia. Contact Cornelius O. Pearson, P.O. Box 277, Clarksburg, West Virginia.
Dude, how could you turn that down, man? Right? How could you turn that down? I mean, come on, he sounds perfect.
Oh, I was wrong. It was $400 to $3,000 per month, because I was going to say, who says $400 to $300 per month? But
yeah.
That's quite a gap there, man. That's a...
well, he's got a lot of different properties. Some might be rented, some might not.
There's some ebbs and flows to that income. Some months 400, some months 3,000. Either way, that's still good income during that day. And having $150K in the bank.
Yes, I actually looked up that, and being worth $150,000 at that time is equivalent to over $2 million in today's
Yeah, that's
dollars.
Good cash.
Yeah. So imagine seeing an ad in the classifieds now, or seeing a Tinder ad where somebody's like, I'm worth $2 million and I can't find anybody. It's like, yeah, right, fuck off.
Isn't it almost amazing that he didn't? I almost feel like if he did this long enough, he would become a victim himself. There was, this is a not Wild West time, but like not far out of that. There was a lot of people that were not, not willing to kill people for money. It's almost surprising he didn't get someone say, hey, come, let's meet at this place. And then they rip him off and kill him.
He's lucky he didn't meet like Eileen Warnos or something during this time.
Yeah,
right. Shot his ass in the head and took what he had.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't have been nowhere near what he said he had, though. To be far.
Of course not. So Powers, under the alias of Cornelius O. Pearson, soon entered into a long correspondence with a widowed mother of 3 children named Asta Eicher of Park Ridge, Illinois. And on June 23, 1931, the man known as Cornelius Pearson arrived at the Eicher home in Park Ridge for a short visit with Asta and her children, Greta, who was 14, Harry, who was 12, and Annabelle, who was 9. Such an old school little girl name, Annabelle.
I know.
It reminds me of those horror films.
I was about to say that name's kind of took on a creepy connotation over the years because of those films. Yeah.
Too bad she wasn't haunted and just killed him.
I know, right? Damn it.
Yeah. After 2 days, Eicher and Pearson, or Powers, departed on a trip together, leaving the 3 children in the custody of the family nurse, Isabel Abernathy. 5 days later... Go ahead.
I was going to say, that might seem weird. A lot of people might be like, after 2 days, like you just went on a trip with this guy? But they had been corresponding through letters for a while.
Yeah.
And, like we mentioned earlier, he did have a way with words. He did. He would say anything he needed to say. And you got to think, for a widow at this time, raising 3 children on her own, this is very enticing.
Yeah.
Very enticing to have a man around the house to help support her and her family. It was an easy target. Mm-hmm. It really was. It's pretty fucked up.
Yeah. So 5 days later, Miss Abernathy received a letter from Mrs. Eicher telling her that Mr. Pearson would come for the children shortly. So Abernathy, being the caretaker or the family nurse that was watching over the children, she gets this letter from Miss Eicher saying, that the man that she had come and taken her away would come and get the children shortly. It's just kind of odd, right? Like, why wouldn't she come with him? Where are you?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah. So Pearson would arrive on July 1st and spend the night in the Eicher home. The next day, he sent one of the children to the bank with a note and a check, supposedly signed by Miss Eicher. Mm-hmm. And this note instructed the bank clerk to fill the amount of the bank balance on the check and give it to the child. So he's basically sent this child to the bank to retrieve all of Miss Eicher's money.
However, not suspicious at all.
Not suspicious.
And you have no clue.
Clean out the bank account entirely.
And you have no clue what the amount is.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
whatever's in there, give it to me.
Yeah, whatever it is, just put it all on there.
Close it out.
I don't know. I'm so wealthy, so
right.
I don't. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Now, the bank refused to do so because the signature did not appear to be that of Asta Eicher. Seemed like signatures back then were a lot more important. Nowadays,
they had to be.
No one's checking fucking signatures anymore. It's such a silly thing that we still do. I think mine's different every time I do it, legitimately.
Because
it's gotten to the point
so
where I just fucking basically have like a seizure on the paper momentarily, and that's that.
Well, there's so much other things to confirm your identity nowadays. The signature became less important.
Exactly.
But back then, it was your stamp. It was like your fingerprint.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, people practiced that. And not to mention, cursive was a normal way to write. So everyone's cursive is naturally going to be different.
Yeah.
So
it's an odd thing.
Yeah.
I wonder at one point, are we not doing that anymore?
It's pretty close. We're almost at, because look, you can electronically sign almost anything now. You can buy a car completely online.
Absolutely. Most people that buy homes, it's all e-signing.
Yeah.
Aside from when you actually go to the broker or whatever it is and sign all the legit papers, but like like doing submitting offers and things like that, it's all digital.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody cares. Because like I say, there's so many other ways to confirm your identity nowadays. You don't really need the signature anymore. Yeah. But yeah.
So when the child returned without the money, the man quickly put the 3 children into his car and drove off, to the amazement of the family nurse, Miss Abernathy. And neither the widow nor her children were ever seen alive again. 3 weeks later, Cornelius Pearson arrived at the home of Mr. and Mrs. Charles Fleming of Northborough, Massachusetts. So now he's on to his next set of victims.
He's already moved on.
The last family was not all that lucrative. It doesn't sound like he got much.
No. Thanks to that bank teller.
Yeah.
But although there was no one left to collect the remaining balance.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So he arrives at the home of Mr. And Mrs. Charles Fleming of Northborough, Massachusetts, where he was there to meet the object of a long and passionate correspondence, Mrs. Fleming's sister, Dorothy Pressler Lemke. And the next morning, Cornelius and Dorothy stopped by 2 banks where she withdrew $4,000 before departing for Iowa, where they were to be married. So $4,000, no, not chump change back in the day. That's good money.
Absolutely.
And
this was an easy, quick score.
That's the kind of money you can buy, you can buy property, homes, all sorts of shit with $4,000 back in the 30s.
Not to mention, and that's more than he made in a month, even on his good month, right? Up to $3,000.
Right. Yeah. Along the way, they stopped at the railway station where Powers shipped Dorothy's trunks. And at the time, no one noticed that the trunks were not shipped to Iowa, but instead were addressed to Cornelius Pearson in Fairmont, West Virginia. The man known locally as Harry Powers claimed the trunk several days later in West Virginia. And what had happened to this Dorothy Pressler Lemke? She was now MIA.
Right. But no one was putting that together yet, though. No one was putting together. Nobody thought it was suspicious that Harry was claiming the trunks yet.
Right. However, the case of the Quaildale murders began to unravel on August 26, 1931, when officials in Park Ridge, Illinois, contacted Clarksburg Police Chief Clarence Duckworth.
What?
I'm sorry, but Police Chief Duckworth, it just sounds so preposterous.
Yeah,
to me.
I'm Chief Duckworth. What's it to you?
Just picture him having to duck bill and everything. Oh, my God.
It's a long-standing family name.
Yeah. Mac, let's get to the bottom of this now.
Just waddles out the door.
Exactly. You know he waddled like a duck.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So officials in Park Ridge, Illinois, contacted Police Chief Duckworth and requested that he take local resident Cornelius O. Pearson into custody for questioning in the disappearance of Asta Eicher and her 3 children. So the one where he got no money from, where he'd taken off the mother and the 3 children and they disappeared.
Right.
That one's coming back to bite him already. The only problem with the request was that there was no one under that name living in Clarksburg. The police chief turned the name and description over to City Detective Carl Southern and asked him to track the man down. On a hunch, Detective Southern made a trip to the post office on the corner of 3rd and Pike Streets. There he learned that Cornelius O. Pearson had rented a box and given his home address as 111 Quincy Street. He soon determined that resident of that address, Harry Powers, closely matched the Illinois description of Cornelius Pearson. So they've figured out one of his aliases already.
That was quick.
There's too much connecting to connect the dots to here.
That's right.
And Powers, a.k.a. Pearson, would be arrested that morning on the basis of the Illinois warrant. And the arrest was reported in the Clarksburg Telegram newspaper and read with interest by Louise Watson of Nutterfort. Miss Watson telephoned the Harrison County Sheriff Wilford B. Grimm to tell him about the Powers garage that adjoined the property of her mother, Nellie Bond, at Quietdale. So now they've got a tip that he's got this garage that's a little suspect behind the home in Quietdale.
Right. Yep, they're putting it together quickly.
It's actually impressive the way that these different jurisdictions and states work together. Back in this
It really is.
Back in this time, and they actually figured this shit out. We've seen in the 80s and 90s serial killers just jump to another county line and just dump bodies out the highway and not get caught until they've killed 70 people.
Right, especially after I was just shitting on state cooperation at the beginning of this episode.
Right.
That's perfect.
Exactly.
But you know what? He's making a lot of stupid mistakes here, though.
Yes.
Putting his real address, not just using the P.O. box, stuff like that. But that's what makes me think that he'd been at this a long time. Mm-hmm. Like these are mistakes that a brazen, seasoned con man / serial killer makes.
Right.
I think because they're like, I'm not going to get caught.
Mm-hmm.
I can just move or whatever. But his mistake
and a time
was
where people
that
were
he
going
settled
missing
down.
all the time, and people just assume they ran away, and who knows what happened to them? They're buried somewhere.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And I mean, I think the mistake he made though was that he wanted that home life. He wanted that companionship with his wife and a place to call home, and he wanted to still do this.
Yeah.
He couldn't have both.
Right.
In order to continue this lifestyle, this scam, he would have to keep moving.
He needed to separate his aliases a little better, though. You can't be sending something like stolen property from someone you killed under one alias to your other alias's P.O. box. That's a bad idea. You got to have your own. Like Cornelius needed a P.O. box back in West Virginia or something like that was not attached to Harry Powers. Those two worlds cannot collide, as they say in Seinfeld.
It cannot collide. That's right.
Independent George is dying.
But
but
as we find out though, he wasn't really the smoothest talker when it came to that type of thing.
Yeah.
He wasn't good with keeping up with his lies either.
Yeah. So Sheriff Grimm obtained a search warrant for this premises in Quietdale with this garage in question on August 28th. And Deputy Bond State Police Corporal Dorsey Bailey, Police Chief Duckworth, and City Detective Carl Southern proceeded to the garage. At Quietdale, they were joined by John Bond, a former Elk District constable, and they brought a pickaxe so they could use this to pry the lock from the door open. And inside his shop, they found 4 rooms of tile and concrete that had been constructed in the basement of the garage. Sounds pretty sketchy, almost like torture chambers.
Absolutely.
In one of these rooms, they found a bloody footprint and other signs of violence, including bloody clothing and strands of human hair.
That ain't good.
A partly burned a bank book was recovered from some ashes near the building. So now he's being tied to their bank accounts, the victims.
Yep.
And the hopes of authorities for the Eicher family began to fade. Officials called the Clarksburg Fire Department to assist by pumping out a nearby well that had been filled with rocks and water. However, the well provided no clues to the location of the missing widow and her children. So when they found that old abandoned well with all the rocks and water, they must have thought beneath those rocks in that water would be the bodies, but no luck there.
Probably just an old well that had dried up.
Yeah. They needed more cooperation from Powers. They knew there was a good chance the bodies were there on the property with what they were finding, all this evidence of people being held captive and tortured potentially. They just needed to know where he put the bodies. So handcuffed and heavily guarded, Powers was brought to the farm and showed the bloody footprint of a young boy that had been uncovered. Officials demanded that he reveal the location of the bodies, but he maintained his silence at that time. Mm-hmm. The news. This became a big story, of course. The news rapidly spread across the area, and by 1 o'clock that afternoon, over 300 people had gathered at the farm to watch the search, which had to have been the whole town.
Right. Seriously, in a town
Can you
called
imagine all the
Whitevale?
businesses closed down and everything? We got a big...
Oh, yeah.
This is the biggest thing that's ever happened in Quietdale.
Seriously. This is some big drama here.
Yeah. Among these bystanders was a 15-year-old boy who told Sheriff Grimm that he had recently helped Powers dig a ditch from the garage to the creek.
Oh... Damn, laziness caught up with you, Powers.
This piqued their interest. Yeah, like dig your own hole, bitch.
Yeah. Dig your own hole, man.
That was like
a problem.
Gacy, man. We always have to have a Gacy reference. Remember he was
Yep.
having some of his workers for his contracting company go down beneath the crawl space and fucking dig holes and shit, and they could smell the stench of rotting corpses down there.
Yeah, and that just adds to the evidence. That's just more people who are implicated in the crime. But Gacy probably planned on killing those boys anyway.
I was going to say, if Mr. Powers here was real smart, he would have paid the boy to dig those ditches and then put him in one of them.
Yeah. Luckily he wasn't.
Yeah, leave no witnesses. So Detective Grimm quickly summoned trustees with shovels who began to uncover the ditch that had been dug. And within moments, the crowd retreated from a terrible odor emanating from the trench. There's actually a photo that's on the YouTube page right now of them recovering Harry Eicher's body from the trench. And his head had been bashed in with a hammer. This guy's a monster, man.
He really is. He strangled the women. He strangled the girls, the two daughters, and then Miss Eicher. But, yeah, he bashed the boy's head in with a hammer for some reason. Maybe he fought back and angered him.
Yeah,
I don't know, but he made a big mistake though, because that's obviously what caused the blood and the hair, and then also the boy's footprint in the basement, which led them to the suspicion of all this. Anyways, if he would have just strangled the boy like he did the women, he may have gotten away. Thank God he didn't. But
horrific scene, man. The boy was 9, right? I mean, being
he
held
was 12.
in this 12, being held in it. Maybe that's why he had to do the hammer, because the boy might have been strong, capable, like actual threat physically to him.
Oh yeah, 12 years old then was like 20 now.
Yeah,
farm
dude,
kids, man.
12-year-old farm boy, freaking in the 1930s. That kid's probably stronger than most men in current times.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And so, although the decomposing body of Asta Eicher was found at the lower end of the ditch, it was only the beginning of the horrors awaiting searchers. The bodies of the 3 children were found later that afternoon. It appeared that the 2 girls, as you mentioned, had been strangled like their mother, but the 12-year-old Harry Eicher had died from being struck in the head repeatedly with a hammer that was found with the bodies. So he actually put the hammer in there with the bodies. A crowd of several hundred people gathered outside of Harrison County Jail, where officials were questioning Powers. The interrogation by officials of the Park Ridge Police, the Harrison County Sheriff's Department, and the B&O Police continued until 4 a.m. the next morning. And he's tried to still maintain his innocence for several hours before he finally gave in to the vigorous questioning and beatings.
Vigorous
that they were
questioning.
Exactly. 1930s Southern questioning.
That's right. We're going to beat the fuck out of you, boy.
There was
apparently
there's a photo out there somewhere of his mugshot following his confession, and he was quite beaten.
Yeah. He fell down the stairs, Lauren.
His meat had been tenderized a bit.
That's right. He'd fallen down the stairs, though. That's all.
Yeah. So after the vigorous questioning, he signed a statement confessing to the murder of Asta Eicher and her children. Photographs taken of Powers in the days immediately following his arrest revealed 2 black eyes and extensive bruising as a result of having, quote, fallen down the stairs during questioning.
Well, he's clumsy.
How does one fall downstairs during questioning? You get put in an interrogation room.
Well, he had ankle shackles on. He's a clumsy guy, dude. I don't know. He fell down the stairs and hit just his face. Don't worry about it.
So just when authorities believed they would get some well-deserved rest, the case took an unexpected twist. Yet another body was located in the Quietdale sewer grave. This time, the victim was a dark-haired, heavy-set woman who appeared to have been buried for about 3 weeks. She had been strangled to death with a belt that was still found twisted around her neck.
Same method.
In the ashes of a bonfire behind the garage building, officials found a charred book bearing the name of Dorothy Pressler Lemke. And so that was the sister of the family that, he'd had that correspondence with and gone out there. And she had withdrew the $4,000 and then disappeared.
Yes.
And he had sent her bags back to West Virginia.
That's right.
The book had been issued by the Merchants Savings Bank of Worcester, Massachusetts. Worcester authorities confirmed that Miss Lemke was on their missing persons list. And so they get another closed cold case there. Or not cold case, but missing persons case.
Right.
It was only weeks old, really. The Flemings traveled to Clarksburg and identified the decomposed body as Miss Lemke on the basis of the clothing and the dental work. So the number of dead at the Quietdale garage now numbered 5, 2 lonely women and 3 fatherless children. Authorities also found hundreds of letters to Cornelius Pearson from lonely women all over the country. And like you said, you have to wonder how many more victims were out there.
That's what I'm saying. There's no way this was his first attempt at this.
Although he might have just started in his 30s. We see that as a starting point for many serial killers. And I think, with the wife that he had met in Quietdale, responding to that Lonely Hearts ad, that was kind of eye-opening to him. Like, this is how I can make acquaintances with wealthy people and make them my victims. But along the way, during his travels, he may have just stumbled upon someone and just been alone with them and killed them and taken their wealth. Who knows what someone at a hotel or something like that.
He was an opportunistic killer.
Yes.
I don't even know if I would call this guy like a typical serial killer. Like, he obviously had motive. He wasn't killing for sexual advances or anything like that. He was just killing for opportunity. He saw I want to take this person's money and things, but I can't do that while they're still alive. Like, it was simple as that.
Yeah.
And upon that type of knowing that information about him, it's just hard to believe that he wasn't taking every opportunity along the way. You know what I'm saying? And he was so comfortable bullshitting people, using different aliases. And here's another example. His other alias, it was like AR something or something another. He hasn't even used that in the crimes that we have covered. Mm-hmm. So he had to have used it somewhere. It wasn't just pulled out of thin air. So he used that alias on some people. Mm-hmm. It was documented. So what happened to those people? We don't know. There was no proof.
And with authorities working together and capturing him, when they did, they saved at least one other woman and many more. I'm sure he was working at a furious pace at this point. He was all these letters going back and forth to people. He had no shortage of opportunity to go and travel and kill more widows or just lonely women that had wealth. And on the basis of the letters that they found, authorities contacted a Mrs. Edith D. Simpson, who was 38 and from Detroit, who expected Pearson to marry her in September. So they had been going back and forth with letters, and she'd already purchased her wedding dress and was making arrangements to leave with him.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, these other women, he did the same thing. Like, he already had them primed. Yep. He already had them completely fooled. Mm-hmm. So when he showed up, it only took a matter of days. So it wasn't even probably that suspect to his wife. He could have told her he was going on a business trip, maybe to contact other farms and get other resources or whatever. And it only took a matter of a couple days for him to pull off these whole schemes and come back with money.
Yep.
God's dark.
So when she was shown a letter, Mrs. Simpson, when she was shown a letter that Powers had written to Asta Eicher, she was amazed to see that it was almost an exact copy of the one that he had sent to her. And even still, she told officers, quote, "He wrote so beautifully in his letters. His mind was so big and fine. I can't believe he would hurt an insect."
Well, it's like even seeing the exact same letter written to somebody else.
Right.
It's like he knows it works. Obviously.
Yeah, and maybe they should just show her the the trench with a 12-year-old's head caved in and a hammer next to it to maybe.
Yeah.
I think he would hurt more than an insect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Newspapers and lawmen christened him Bluebeard, after a legendary king who strangled each wife before moving on to marry again. And this is from French folktale. Quote, the tale tells the story of a wealthy man in the habit of murdering his wives and the attempts of the present one to avoid the fate of her predecessors. So it's not even really based in truth, but more of a folktale. But they started calling him Bluebeard for that reason.
It's based in some truth, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sure, it's based in something. I'm sure it's exaggerated, but there's plenty of kings throughout history who did this exact thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
King Henry the Eighth or whatever, didn't he kill like freaking 13 wives or some shit just because they didn't have sons? Like, I mean,
yeah, they wouldn't kill him. If you're a king, you don't need to kill him for wealth, but you kill him for whatever reasons.
Yeah, yeah. And then you get away with it too because you're the damn king.
Absolutely.
It's even worse.
So, of course, the public in Quietdale was fascinated with the story of Bluebeard, the Bluebeard of Quietdale. Hundreds traveled to the murder site each day. So it wasn't even just people locally. This had become kind of a nationwide story in the newspapers. Mm-hmm. On September 12th, promoters constructed a 6-foot-high fence in front of the garage and the drainage ditch and declared an admission charge. So they started charging people
bullshit.
to come and view this. Yeah.
This is pretty fucked up, too. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be people.
It's fucked up that so many people wanted to come see it, but it's also fucked up that they wanted to charge an admission. They both are.
I guess so. I mean, we are also a podcast that covers this stuff and then does advertisements, so I don't know how much of a leg we have to stand on.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like it's been 100 years since this happened.
True.
Whereas, like, this just happened. Like, this family is still grieving.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, they're still identifying bodies, and you're charging admission to them to see them. That's like charging admission to someone's funeral. Yeah. Imagine that.
Well,
that's a little bit different.
There was clearly people that felt the same way as you, because that night a crowd of over 200 spectators soaked the enclosure with gasoline and set fire to it. A second fence was immediately torn down, and citizens of Harrison County were enraged at the murders committed by Powers. And actually, an angry mob formed and tried to take him out. On September 20th,
they wanted blood.
Yeah, they wanted blood. On September 20th, 1931, an angry mob of nearly 5,000 surrounded the county jail and demanded that Powers be turned over to them. That's got to be pretty scary for a little county jail. 5,000 people. They want to storm in and take whatever they want. They can. You're not stopping them.
I know. 5,000 people. That's
got
probably
the numbers
more
on
than
their side.
The entire population. That's people from surrounding towns. Mm-hmm. That's like, my God, that's the whole region of West Virginia at the time, probably.
Right. The Clarksburg Fire Department was called to the scene to help dispel the mob, but the angry crowd tore lengths of hose from the fire trucks to prevent themselves from being sprayed with the water. Several members of the mob tried unsuccessfully to upset one of the fire trucks. I'm guessing overturn
it.
Truck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are heavy, man.
They're heavy, bro. Especially in the 30s. Some things were solid metal.
My God,
there was no fiberglass on that bitch.
Right.
You're not flipping that thing over.
Yeah. So this siege would last more than 2 hours and included the use of tear gas, bombs, bricks, and other missiles before the police got it under control. 8 men were arrested and placed in the county jail. Maybe that was what they wanted, to be placed in jail with him.
Right?
Maybe that'd be the way to go.
And 8 of them all on the same page, too.
Right.
8 guys jump you, man, you're fucked.
Yeah. Officials were concerned that they could not hold up against such civil pressure indefinitely and began to make arrangements to transfer Powers to a federal penitentiary in Moundville for safekeeping. At 3 a.m. that morning, 13 officers and 3 automobiles set off to make the journey. So it's basically like a presidential escort here.
Yeah.
You got going on
like
3 different vehicles. Yeah.
Yeah.
As the 3 automobiles roared up the Washington Avenue, Powers wept and inquired about the safety of his wife and sister-in-law. He feared that the mob would turn its anger upon them. And volley after volley of tear gas bombs were fired by state police into the crowd surrounding the jail that night. Despite the fact that the tear gas bombs were already releasing before they reached the crowd, members of the mob were not reluctant to pick them up and hurl them back at officers.
I bet not, dude. They were mad.
They were mad. This is
yeah.
Tear gas from exploding bombs permeated the entire town district for hours. State police, deputy sheriffs, and city policemen patrolled the lawn of the sheriff's residence and jail, carrying submachine guns and high-powered rifles, as well as automatics and surface revolvers. The crowd did not disperse until it was announced that Powers was secure inside the walls of Moundsville Penitentiary. They almost got him. They almost got to him.
They did. They did. They wanted him. I mean, but you got to think, man, in this small town, and there's literally bodies being pulled from your property. There was, to them, there was no question of guilt or innocence.
No.
You know what I'm saying? They're like, hang his ass in the street now.
Yeah.
Like, he did it.
Well, justice would come down swiftly. In 1931, Harrison County was without a courthouse. An old red brick building had been torn down, and a new Hall of Justice was under construction. The temporary courthouse, which would later serve as City Hall and police station, was not nearly large enough for the expected trial. Arrangements were made to rent Moore's Opera House on 4th Street, which had a seating capacity of over 500 for the trials. They're going to rent out an opera house for this trial. That's how big of a deal it is. And it would begin on December 7th, 1931, and was viewed by more people in Harrison County than any other trial in its history.
Wow. At the time.
Yeah. Only 100 days after his arrest, Harry Powers was indicted for the murders of Dorothy Lemke, Miss Asta Eicher, and her 3 children, Greta, Harry, and Annabelle. Prosecuting attorney Will E. Morris and his associate William G. Stathers elected to try the case on the Lemke murder because there was a more direct link to Powers. They were seeking the death penalty and had most confidence in getting it in this case. So that's smart. Go with the most, bulletproof case there, the one that you have the most evidence on. There was so many ties to him and her with her luggage and all of that in the P.O. box.
Exactly.
And her body being on his property. The state's case was fairly clear-cut. James E. Smith, contractor, testified that he constructed a large garage built at Quietdale for Powers. The city detective testified that Miss Lemke's body had been found in a sewer ditch at the garage. He also stated that he had seized letters addressed to Mr. Cornelius Pearson from the possession of Powers. The trial, testimony, and deliberations of the jury combined took a total of 5 days. And on December 12, 1931, Judge John Southern stated, quote, "It's the judgment of the court that you be taken into the state penitentiary at Moundsville. There you will be kept and treated in the manner provided by the law, and then hanged by the neck until dead on March 18, 1932, between the hours of sunrise and sunset." So he receives the death penalty, and it will be carried out very soon.
Sometime that day.
Within a year.
Yeah. It was, look, on December 12th he said that, and then in March, so 4 months later, basically. Yep. He was put to death. They weren't fucking around.
No.
And then imagine waking up on the 18th, and he's like, it doesn't even give you an exact time, so just all day you're just wondering when they're going to take you out there.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
So am I getting lunch, or how are we doing this?
Do I get to pick breakfast and lunch? Am I just breakfast? Or...
Yeah. So on the date of his execution, Powers dressed immaculately in a dark pinstripe suit with a white shirt and black tie, walked up calmly to the stairs toward his death, declined the offer to make a final statement, and did not react as the guard slipped a black death cap over his head. And at precisely 9 a.m., around brunch time, 3 attendants stationed by 3 buttons pushed them simultaneously, and Powers dropped silently through the trap door. None of the 3 would ever know which button. Oh, that's kind of like the firing squad when you don't know which one has the bullet. That's interesting.
Yeah. That is pretty cool.
In 11 minutes, Powers was officially pronounced dead, but the legend of the Bluebeard of Quietdale lived in infamy. And although he was not charged, Powers was suspected in the involvement of the 1928 disappearance of Dudley C. Wade, a carpet sweeper salesman with whom he had once worked with, and also the unsolved murder of a Jane Doe in Morris, Illinois. So as you talked about, you believe there was more victims. Yeah. I think it's quite likely there was more victims.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because, man, he got arrested in Wisconsin for burglary. He set a lady's house on fire as well. Like, come on, if you're willing to do all that, you were taking lives at that time. You have a complete disregard for human life.
Right.
You know, and I think just him moving around is what led him to get away with that. Because, see, once he got to Quietdale, like you said, he settled down. He built the farm. I mean, he built the garage. The garage was a big mistake. Yep. And then he also had the P.O. box where he was, where the main address, you have to, even if you have a P.O. box, you still have to have an address tied to it. Like you can't just go in anonymously and have a P.O. box. So his address was still tied to that P.O. box, regardless of what name he put on it. So, it was only a matter of time. Yeah. It's only a matter of time before he got caught, man. Yeah. But, oh well, good riddance. I know he got away with a lot.
Yeah, we've seen much worse police work in modern times than this. I'm still impressed by the cooperation with each other in different jurisdictions and everything that they caught him as quickly as they did. Because he was working at a quick pace, man. It's a good thing they did catch him because there would have been more victims shortly.
Or there would have been freaking riots in the streets, man. If they're putting this much pressure, I mean, they were putting pressure on the police too, which really pushed them. But in a small town, like a town like Quietdale, it's like, I feel like you're more motivated to solve these crimes because you're seeing these people at church. You're seeing them at the store. You're seeing them, at festivals and in the street. So it's I don't know.
They take it more personally in a small town like that. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. Because a lot of them were born there and raised there and will probably die there. So, like you say, they take it personal, and they don't have a lot of other big crime going on.
Similar to Ed Gein, and also the what was the case we did where the whole town band together and killed that guy? Remember that one?
Oh shit!
It's very similar.
Yeah.
Can't think of his name.
Macklemore or
yes, Ken Macklemore.
Ken Macklemore,
yeah,
something like that. Yeah, that was a crazy case.
Yeah.
Same way, kind of like where, all these guys decided to get together and shoot at the same time and they don't know who killed them. Mm-hmm. So,
Awesome.
You got to imagine, though, when you're pushing those buttons on the thing, it's like one of them had to feel like it had a spring behind it or something, right? It's like,
right.
What did your button feel like? You didn't? Oh.
Nothing?
Nothing? Oh, I felt like like a tick in mine. Yeah, I think I might.
Right.
But who cares? I mean, such a monster like him.
I think I might wait like a half a tick. And let them push theirs first, and then nothing happens, and then like, oh shit, it's on me.
But I think in that town, people probably would have paid to push the buttons. You could have auctioned off like positions to push those buttons. I mean, eight guys were arrested just to try and to get to them. That's not counting the thousands of other people that tried to turn over vehicles and everything else. Yeah. So, yeah, man, they were pretty fired up about it.
Yeah. Just like we're pretty fired up about all natural deodorant around here.
Hell yeah, we are. We're fired up about Oh My Gaia.
That's right.
I got some Fireside on today. It's the perfect fall scent. I talk about that all the time. It is.
Yeah.
If you don't know what Oh My Gaia is, it's an innovative, all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. Their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while still maintaining effectiveness. And at Oh My Gaia, they use only all-natural, paraben, and aluminum-free organic ingredients, guys. And there's tons of scents to choose from, not just Fireside. You can get vanilla, cherry almond, sandalwood, lavender, lemongrass, Egyptian musk, coconut, dreamsicle, leather, lumberjack, honeysuckle, bergamot, amber, pear, sweet pea, sailor, barbershop, another one of my favorites. And if you don't know where to start, if you're just overwhelmed, there's a great unisex scent called True Crime Pine. And we know you're true crime fans, so that's a great place to start. It was made just for your beloved true crime guys, of course. And because you're True Crime Guys listeners, you can use the word CREEPER for 15% off your order. That's CREEPER for 15% off your order at ohmygaia.com. That's OHMYGAIA.com. And guys, also, you can give them a follow at shop_ohmygaia on Instagram. Also, you can follow us on Instagram at True Crime Guys, and we will share promotions from Oh My Gaia as well. Again, that's OHMYGAIA.com, and don't forget to use code word CREEPER.
That's right.
Right.
So please support, Oh My Gaia, who's been with us. She was our earliest sponsor, Wendy, over at Oh My Gaia.
For years.
We went out on a limb to sponsor on our show. And so many people, it's been a great relationship where so many of our listeners have they're now lifelong Oh My Gaia people. So many of our reviews on iTunes are like, love you guys. Also, Oh My Gaia rules, so check it out. No one's ever disappointed by it. Also check out our other weekly sponsor, small business, Tonic CBD. It's true. Not all CBD products are created equal. From how the hemp is grown and processed to how it's formulated and delivered into your body, every step of the process that goes into making the product affects your ultimate experience with it. That's why Tonic's products really stand out. Founder Brittany Carbone created her own original formulas using CBD, adaptogens, herbs, and superfoods back in 2017 and has been working to deliver the most effective, intentional, and sustainable products possible. Tonic Craft cultivates their own hemp on their certified organic family farm in upstate New York. That hemp travels only 30 minutes to their state-of-the-art manufacturing and distribution facility where it's turned into a finished product and sent to you, ensuring only the highest quality vibes at every stage of the process. Their farm-to-bottle plus botanical blends are uniquely formulated to provide targeted support where you need it most. Each and every high-quality ingredient is thoughtfully selected for its ability to support and enhance the benefits of CBD, resulting in a more effective, well-rounded, and constant wellness solution for your mind and body. It's easy to verify the quality of their products as well. There's a microchip on top of the product's tube packaging, which allows you to tap your phone at the top and reveal the third-party lab reports product information, details about their farm, and even helpful blog posts to provide you with CBD education. So with values rooted in quality, integrity, and sustainability, Tonic is committed to creating plant-based wellness products that are good for the people and good for the planet. Visit tonicvibes.com to learn more and use code word CREEPER for 20% off your order. That's tonicvibes.com, code word CREEPER for 20% off your order.
Right on. You guys won't regret it.
Nope.
We use these products ourselves. They're not just products that we advertise for. We endorse them because we love them.
Yes.
So
we use
know you
both
guys
of these
will
products
too.
daily.
And there's links right below the description of this episode, as well as your code words. So you guys can check that out.
Yep.
And also check out Patreon, patreon.com/truecrimeguys. You guys can get access to everything we make. If you miss us on our off weeks, that's where we are. We're over there on Patreon. And for just $2 a month, you can get access to our monthly Patreon exclusive episode, as well as 50+ Vault episodes from way back when we first started. If you're on our feed and you don't see episodes 1 through 50, that's where they are. They're on the Vault on Patreon, and for just $2 a month, you can hear all those. And I think we're almost at 70 Patreon exclusives. So that's somewhere between 110, 120 True Crime Guys episodes that you may have not heard, available for just $2 a month. And then if you bump up to the $5 tier, you can get access to so much more. 90+ Just the Banter episodes with me and Lauren. Lauren's 5-Minute Murder Show, which with video as well. Also, you can get access to Sandu content. Strange and Unexplained is our other show. You can get on free platforms where we tackle unsolved cases, missing persons, strange phenomena. But we also do, I also do a show called Strange Shorts every single Monday with my buddy Andy. And you can hear some episodes on the free platform as well. But you can hear episodes every Monday on Patreon on the $5 tier, as well as Sandu Stories, which is our audio drama podcast where we get to do a little acting. Andy also writes for that as well. He writes the script. We all work together. We edit. We all record our lines. Me and Lauren play a part in every episode. It's pretty cool. It's a good time. It's with full sound effects, music. It's an immersive audio experience, as we like to call it. But that and so much more, guys, on Patreon. And link is right below the description as well. And also YouTube. Right, Lauren?
Check it out. Yep. Creeping up on 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. If you haven't gone over and hit subscribe, check it out. It's a different experience than just listening to the show. I know you're Googling half the time when you're listening anyway. This does the work for you. While you're watching the YouTube version of our show, the images pop up of whoever we're talking about, whether it's the killer, the victim, the location, whatever it is. All of that's done by a lot of that work done by Michael's wife, Kristen. Shout out for all her hard work on the YouTube channel, killing it.
That's right.
So yeah, go give it a subscribe, maybe some likes on some of the videos over there. As I mentioned, it's a different experience watching it. If you have, if you're one that listens at your desk at work, and you could pop up the YouTube version of it.
That's right. That's right. All right, guys.
I want to give a quick shout out to a couple people that have taken the time to rate and review the show. Thanks to Kramer Fan 1 in the U.S. Thanks to Eric Zapata in the U.S.,
nice.
New Bear 5, and Guardian 07. Thanks for the reviews on not only this show, but Strange and Unexplained as well. If you have a second, go over and click 5 stars, either on Spotify if you're listening there, or on iTunes, wherever it is. It helps the show. We appreciate it. We look at those. We read them. It's much appreciated.
Absolutely, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And also follow us on social media, at True Crime Guys.
At True Crime Guys everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, you name it. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Keep creeping.
Keep creeping, guys.
True Crime Guys, in the desert we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you, sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army, we out here making murder, get murder. True Crime Guys, in the desert we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you, sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army, we out here making murder charming.
From the minds of True Crime Guys, come
TCG Weekly. If you've enjoyed this episode, please feel free to check out all the other programs on the TCG network. Every Wednesday, a new episode of True Crime Guys proper, Strange and Unexplained on Mondays, and Full House Fantasy Football on Fridays to start your weekend. And if those aren't enough, head on over to our Patreon account, where you can have access to hundreds of hours of content, including older episodes and other Patreon exclusives like Strange Shorts, Sandu Stories, Higher Thoughts, and the 5-Minute Murder Show. But until next time, guys, keep creeping. Hey, how do you shut this thing off? Over?